Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. Whenever I make a video about how schools were designed to indoctrinate children, I will either get a question or I will get an argument about this one thing. Homeschooled kids can be indoctrinated too, can't they? Homeschooled kids can be indoctrinated too. Do you believe that's true? Well, that's something that I've been presented with quite a bit in the past few months, and depending on who it's coming from, they usually have a different attitude about it. Some people ask me as a genuine question because they are planning on homeschooling their kids, or they might already be homeschooling and they don't want to be guilty of indoctrination, whereas other people will kind of use it as an excuse where they think, well, who cares if the schools are indoctrinating students because homeschool kids get indoctrinated by their parents? And that's really the question, isn't it? Can children be indoctrinated by their parents? Well, I guess it really depends on how you look at the word indoctrinated. Schools definitely indoctrinate children. They are pushing a current mindset onto a child. They are filling a child's mind with whatever narrative they want to be espoused, whichever one is the most popular or the most desired at the time. Do parents do the same thing? Well, here's the thing. In my point of view, and actually I've seen several other commenters who have said the same thing, parents raise their children. They do not indoctrinate their children. Parents are given the God-given right to bring their children up in the way that they choose. This involves bringing children up with the worldview that they have, with the points of view that they possess, sharing with their children those things which are valuable to them. And this is something that, again, is the right of every parent, no matter whether you agree with that parent or not. It is a parent's right to do these things. But does a school have the right to do these things? Does a government school, because I usually talk about public school, or any school as a matter of fact, but I mainly talk about the government schools. Do they have the right to do that? I'm going to say no, they do not, because no matter how much the government would like for this to be true, the government is not the parent of your child. They do not have the right to bring up your child. The Bible tells us Christians that we are to train up a child in the way they should go. It does not tell us to let the government, or AKA Caesar, train up our children. We are to train up our children. So it can actually be really dangerous to have a government school or a government school system indoctrinating an entire populace of students. Because, let's think about that. How dangerous can it be when there are millions and millions of children in the school system all being fed the same line, the same ideas, the same morals? Because here's the thing. Although school likes to pretend with those parents who don't know better that school is about the academics, that's not really what school was ever about. The school has always been about training obedient citizens. It started out with training obedient factory workers. Clearly, we don't really have much of a need of that anymore, but they do still have a need of obedient citizens. And this has really been ramped up the past several years, and we are seeing the outcome of these kids who are graduating in school, sometimes still in school. They have all, not all, I won't say all, a lot of them have completely bought in to the outright brainwashing that they are being subjected to in these schools. And again, I'm going to tell you that, yes, it is dangerous for the government to put any sort of ideas into your children that do not have to do with academics. I'm all for the idea of like a community school, like back in, say, the one-room schoolhouse days, when it was driven around academics. But let's keep in mind that that was before the government stepped in, and that is when the entire purpose of the schoolhouse changed. So A lot of people kind of think that what went on in the schoolhouses, in the one-room schoolhouses, is what's going on in schools nowadays. But no, that's not why those schools are there. They're there to create a citizenry that is more easily controlled because they don't know how to think for themselves. They've completely accepted everything that they were told. They've accepted the argument that there's no reason for them to look into things for themselves because everyone else is looking out for them and everyone else knows what's best. That is dangerous. When you have parents who are raising their children in their own worldview, with their own value system, yeah, you might not agree with your neighbor's worldview, but it is still their right to bring their children up in the way that they choose. You might hate the things that your neighbor down the street is teaching their children. But again, unless they are teaching their children something that would be criminal, that is their right. You might not agree with the way that they are raising their children, but it is their right as parents. And here's the thing. When you do have parents who are raising their children with their own worldviews, there is still going to be a balance in society. We are still going to have a populace that isn't all alike, that isn't all completely brainwashed into one way of thinking. I can't help but think of the book Brave New World and how they are subjected to the neurolinguistic programming while they're sleeping, and how they're pretty much drones while they're awake and they cannot even think. And I truly believe that the government has no place at all in the education system. It's a bad recipe. It really is, because you never know what the motives are of whatever government is behind what your kids are learning. Academics in school, fine. If they are objective academics, not like the academics that I have shared a few textbooks with you in some of my videos, but objective academics, yes, that's what schools should be sharing. It is not up to schools, however, to indoctrinate children into certain morals, into certain worldviews, and to take on certain causes for them. That is not the place of a school, and that, my friends, is indoctrination. It is a completely different thing when a family is raising their child, doing their job of what is called parenting, and raising their child in the beliefs and the values that they hold dear. That is not indoctrination. That is called parenting. That's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave it over on Instagram because YouTube disables my comments. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.